Hey everybody, welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B. Today we're going to be talking about why I don't call myself a feminist anymore. And before we jump into that, I just want to say thank you so much for the 1,000 subscribers. And if you're here and you happen to be on the left and you're like, wait, why am I subscribed to this woman who's about to say she doesn't believe in feminism? Please just hear me out, because maybe you'll learn why people are turning away from feminism. So let's get into it. I would just like to say before we get into this too, that I try not to swear too much, but I grew up on Trailer Park Boys. Okay, you guys, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's very hard. Very, very hard to not swear, but I'm going to try my best. But just know that it might slip out sometimes, and I don't mean for that to happen, but I'm not re-editing an entire section to stop a swear word. Okay, I'm not at my other job, at my work, at school. Okay, you know, when I do my more formal videos, I will obviously not swear as much, but if you can't handle swearing, I will try to stop, but I'm sorry if it comes out. Okay, let's get into it. So why I don't like feminism anymore is, number one, it obviously, first of all, I want to just get this off my chest that I don't have to say I'm a feminist to believe in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes, okay? Let me get that off my chest right now, because we live in a world where you're telling me I have to live in this world and I couldn't have the freedom to do whatever I wanted to, you know what I mean? And I'm talking this world as in whatever society that they have created right now. Because when I picture how we would naturally be living, it would be in like communities, and, you know, there's so much to get into. The feminists hate late stage capitalism. It's truly the only reason they have the chance to be and have this freedom. I'll just say that, because nobody would really have freedom if we were all forced to live like we were in hunter and gatherer times, because you'd have, you know, a job. You'd either be hunter, gatherer, parenting, teaching, one of the many things in the community, okay? And they obviously want women working. Women are so afraid of losing, like, in the States, they're so afraid right now that they're gonna lose rights to work. Do you really fucking think these capitalists don't want you guys working? Want you at home having babies? No, they do not, okay? So first, feminism used to, back when I was in school, genuinely mean that we would be helping men as well, okay? Because I do believe that red pill men and hardcore feminist women are just as bad as each other, okay? I've heard red pill men say that cheating is okay, and that if you have a high value wife, she'll be okay with you cheating. That cheating is quite literally one of the only ways biblically that you're allowed to leave your husband. Yeah, so no one, men have been given harmful messaging as well. An example of how feminists would help men, okay, just in case you're like, I've never heard of feminists ever helping men, was when I was doing my placement at a domestic violence shelter. And during that placement, we had these groups. So the women would come to the shelter, and I do believe there should be shelters for men as well, just men. Women come to the shelter, and while they're living there, and all three people are coming and getting help. So the children, or if there's children, and then the wife and the husband. So the men are getting help, the women are getting help, and the children are getting help. That's providing resources for everybody, okay? That's a good thing. Men's mental health has never been lower. And what do women say? What do women say when you say that to them? Because they always care about mental health. No, they don't. Not if it's men. What do they say? They say, well, men created that system. You think your average everyday man created this system? Okay. You know, a big thing that opened my eyes was watching what happened in Cobalt, which was a bunch of billionaires came in and settled in Haleyberry, which is over here. And then the town of Cobalt was just ripped apart, where all of the poor people who worked in the mines would work. Okay? I'm telling you, this world, I don't even think this is a patriarchal world necessarily. I think it's the world for the 1%. I don't think us working class benefit from whatever version of patriarchy or matriarchy that is happening right now, okay? This world is quite clearly, literally for the 1%. And, you know, feminism has disappointed me so many times, you guys, okay? First of all, you guys were okay with forcing women into their homes, knowing that they were in there with their abusers. We currently have a femicide happening in Canada. Does anybody hold the federal government accountable on the left who calls themselves a feminist? Do you guys hold our governments accountable? If you're in a place like British Columbia where you've had NDP or whoever it is that runs British Columbia, the New Democrats or New Liberals, whatever it is, okay? You've had BC running the show for so long. And why are you not more upset that your side that's so good is allowing a femicide to happen? I just have no idea, because you know why femicide's happening? Because of our fucking stupid bail laws. Sorry. Our stupid bail laws. That's why this is happening. Women are dying daily. One every 48 hours. And a big problem, okay, a huge problem with that is the fact that men just get let out on bail. We seen it the other day. The cops were like, well, this sounds like a he said, she said situation. And she ended up dying less than, I think it was 24 hours after that altercation. Why don't you guys care? Do we think that Doug Ford could change anything to the death penalty? No, it has to be done federally. These are things that are federally implemented that feminists will not back down on, despite being confronted with the facts. Okay? And that leads me to the bodily autonomy situation. And if you don't want to hear me get a little bit angry and a little tizzy, then I suggest you just go to the next part, okay? Because tell me why the pro-choice crowd were the ones who pushed that vaccine, who mandated that. So I'm sorry, women, if you're being abused at your home, you have to take this experimental thing to be able to even leave your home. Yeah, and we don't really give a shit about you, because it's not happening to us. So we're just not going to think about it, because, you know, the media right now is telling me that this is the morally correct thing to do. And I'm not going to, fact check that with my own morals and biases and ethics and all of those different things. And I'm just going to go with the flow, because that's what the media is telling me makes me a good person. I have seen way too many people not stand on half of the crap that they say that they stand on, as in pro-choice. Watching that Blossom Michael Knowles situation, where he's telling Blossom, there have been women who have been assaulted by trans-identifying people. Yeah, I agree with Blossom that they are probably cis men taking advantage of the trans identity. What about those women's experiences? What about my experience with my wax? My menstrual cycle has never been the same since. That's not a fun thing to talk about, but I'm willing to talk about it because no one else is. My fertility was changed forever after I got double you know what. And you know what? Why did our government allow one shot of Moderna and one shot of Pfizer when these companies were actively saying, please don't do that? Can someone tell me where the feminism was that was sticking up for our bodily autonomy? I'm sorry, weren't the feminists saying that the Freedom Convoy were Yahtzees and all of these different things, despite them literally being the only people I have seen have to stand up for their bodily autonomy? All of us who didn't want to take more or didn't want to take one? Unbelievable. And then there's the chat about immigration, mass immigration. When people are coming over here from countries where it's the norm to disrespect women, I truly have no idea how the left can just never have a nuanced conversation about things, because women are being assaulted. Look at Lake and Riley, and that's not just the only time. I have a mutual on TikTok who talks about, she's in university, and she talks about going to the club, and there's a certain demographic of men who are very sexual and very aggressive, and she says, and nobody talks about it because they're afraid of being called racist. And then we have also, another feminist issue that the feminists are just kind of looking away from is the fact that immigrant women are coming over here and being taken advantage of as well. Okay, I'm pretty sure the woman that works at my gas station has a room at the gas station. I don't want to say that's for sure. But one time she came out of a room looking real fucking tired, okay? And I really like her. Genuinely, I do. But the fact of the matter is that the feminists look away from those things. And then we move on to the term TERF. Now, both sides are, first of all, both sides are annoying because the left has taken this so far. Okay? Because transitioning used to just be the last case scenario for someone who has very apparent gender dysphoria. And they had gone through all of the avenues, and this was their method of treatment, and it would take a long time because it was a big deal. Okay? Now with self-ID, we are seeing women being harmed in DV shelters, jails. Everybody wants to ignore it because it's not politically correct. And I will not ignore it because it's politically correct, because I know, because look at what happened in the States. I'm very thankful for Danielle Smith's approach to this, because she has kept people's, because this is a marginalized group, and she's very Canadian about it. Look at how far right the States got. I don't know if I agree with all of what Donald Trump has done, because I genuinely feel bad for those who had gender dysphoria or born intersex, because that is an actual condition that nobody seems to want to talk about, but it's an actual thing, and need to get help with things like that. And because the left took this movement, and made it a movement, and made it this thing that they co-opted, there are obviously people taking advantage of this. And because the left doesn't call it out, because the feminists don't call it out, because you're actually called names, then the other feminists, like, I'm not one of those radical femmes. I'm not one of those TERFs. I don't know what it is even called, okay? I am just somebody who genuinely believes in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes, because all of their rules just keep changing, and the more women have to put up with, the more I'm literally like, okay, you guys, they don't even define what a woman is. This isn't like before where I was like, okay, we're overreacting. No, calling something chest feeding, why wouldn't you just call it that for the one? If they're like, well, why do you have to make all of these laws for 1%? Why do we have to change our language for 1%? When you're dealing with somebody, if I would be working with them in, a place, a milieu, or, you're working as a nurse with someone, wouldn't you just use that language, try to use that language when they're in the room? Why would we change all of society and offend women like that and make everybody get divided when this was truly a non-issue before? Why was it a non-issue? Because we didn't know, because the whole goal was to transition. Now you can have a beard, put on makeup, and say you're a woman and walk into a bathroom. Do you think a woman is going to be comfortable with that? No. And another thing it's done is make all of these people guess who is their gender and who isn't. And it drives me insane. There's this particular X account who thinks that every single person is a man. Every single person. Every single person. Now, I understand some of the rumors out there and why they exist, but like, some women are just big boned, you guys. Serena Williams talks about the differences of male and female and why she will not face males, because she does not stand up to them because she's not male, okay? And for a long time there, I was convinced as a feminist that men and women were the same. And then I had children, and I had a girl and a boy, and I raised my daughter very neutral. Like, she was just girly naturally. She naturally gravitated towards girl things. And my son naturally gravitated towards boy things. And they were very different temperaments and all of these different things. And I thought, okay, maybe it's just because, you know, I have a daughter that's more gentle, a son that's more rough. No, I had another boy, and then I worked with boys, and I realized there was a massive difference between boys and girls. And my eyes were kind of really opened after that. And I just think that we are doing such a disservice, because sometimes I feel like feminists, and I honestly feel like sometimes we've regressed and we're not progressing anymore when we say, hey, little boy, you might be a girl because you like girl things. I think that that's silly. I was raising my children in very much an environment where I didn't care what they played with. I'm not going to shame my sons for playing dress up with their sister, nor am I going to put a label on it. Just let kids be kids. Don't shame, don't label. Just let them be who they want to be. Boys grow up to be chefs. That's not something that's should be shamed. And it doesn't make you a girl either. And you guys can sit there and pretend that that isn't what they use as markers to start to do that. But it is. It is. And it's kind of deeply offensive. And when I realized that some of these kids are probably they're just gay kids. And I know you're probably like, oh, there's no such thing as gay kids. Well, they might grow up to be gay. You know what I mean? Like, these are probably just kids who will end up being gay. And they're being have all these labels on them. And I just don't see why we can't have a nuanced conversation about bathrooms. Why can't there be a gender neutral one? Like, not as in a man's, a woman's, and then a third option. And same with Olympics. Why can't there, if there's so many people that are suddenly interested in becoming athletes while they're transitioning, why can't there be an LGBTQ plus league? Why can't there be LGBTQ plus ward or a jail to help with the unique needs that would actually come with transitioning? Why are there males who have gone to jail for harming children allowed in women's medium security prisons? That's what's happening in Canada. And because the feminists are willing to look away, they have no idea how many people know about this or how many people it has impacted. Okay? I feel like I keep saying okay, but it's just to be so sure about something and call myself a feminist for so long and have them disappoint me royally over the last 5 years so many times. It's mind-numbing to be on that it's like a roller coaster of different rules every single week, and if you don't agree with them, then you're suddenly on the alt-right pipeline and you're kicked out, and you're anti-feminist, and you're anti-this, and you're that, and I just don't even recognize it anymore. It also means now to be feminist and white, as a white woman, you have to hate yourself. And if you think I'm joking, I'm not. You can't tell me that reverse racism doesn't exist. It's just racism. It's not reverse racism. It's just racism. Because when the slogan, low income white girl eyes, exists, that's the most offensive thing I've ever heard in my life, like towards a white person. And it's just so normalized that people like laugh about it. You're talking about somebody who probably doesn't get the right vitamins because they're low income. And you think it's okay to make fun of them because they're white? Oh my God, you guys. Like, have we learned nothing from... That's not the answer. The answer is to stop looking at each other with race. And obviously, we don't have to be colorblind, but we also don't have to judge people right away when we look at them. And that is what these DEI and all of these different initiatives, feminism, is telling women to be these days, okay? It's also very annoying how much they hate the nuclear family. And I need you guys to understand that I was a single mom. I knew right away why God did not want me to have premarital sex, because he didn't want me to give birth alone. Okay? He wasn't doing it to slut shame me, as the feminists would probably say. He was doing it because me giving birth alone was one of the worst experiences and best experiences of my life. And he doesn't want to see people go through that. Imagine that. But the amount of feminists that I have seen that are so anti-women, anti-children, literally, if you decide to get married, you basically are, indoctrinated into patriarchal societies. I'm not kidding you. I'm scrolling my feed. I'm pretty sure I have it. If I do have it, I'll put it at the end of this. It's a woman. She's like, I just want to know how you can be married and be a feminist. Exactly. You even asking that question is just proof enough to me that you guys make up all of these fucking rules, and if you don't follow them, then why shouldn't women call themselves a feminist? You guys say that, oh, there's all these people out here who aren't feminists because because these feminists are sick and tired of your rules. They're sick and tired of you guys shitting on their lifestyle, because if you can be kicked, you can be locked in your home by the government, and that is good and noble and great. But if you ever choose to stay home, you must be oppressed. Okay? And I'm not talking about the far right people who say women shouldn't have jobs, all of these different things. I'm not saying that at all. But the feminists are definitely saying that women who, and obviously not all feminists, but you guys, I'm sorry, it's the majority. Okay, it's the majority. All of these things have become the majority rather than the minority. Okay, and it is so bad that even people like me who have called themselves a feminist because I gave birth alone, okay? And, even that was rare. Nobody else was having kids that young. Everybody thought I was insane for having my baby alone. That's okay. I understand. That is very insane. But it honestly seemed like people just genuinely had no idea. Except for my sister. She knew. But genuinely, people had no idea how I could keep the baby. I was like, you guys, you are not... And this is where the Elon Musk and Ashley St. Clair situation comes in. But I understand that that's her second child that she's had as a single mom. But I was like, guys, we need to really lift me up right now. I'm pretty fucking lonely. I was 20. I didn't expect my friends to be around. But genuinely, people had no idea. And then when I got with my husband when my daughter was 6 months. And I had been with my husband before. He was an ex of mine. And we have known each other since we were young. Kindergarten and grade 1. And people couldn't believe that I wanted to marry him. They genuinely were like, I can't believe you even want to get married, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I want more babies. I want to have babies. I want to be married. What do you mean? And it was just kind of, and I understand, because we, growing up, were fed so much that having a family and doing all of these things was giving up, okay? And they really painted the picture that no matter what you did as a parent, you were going to repeat the cycle as your family and nobody was going to be happy, when that's obviously not the case. It can be the case and has been the case with people, but you can always be the difference, okay? You can always be the difference in your family. And what is so weird to me is that all of these feminists online are like, you can't stay home, workplaces will not hire you, blah, blah, blah. And instead of providing resources, they just rip on women and their choice to stay home with the kids. And, maybe I just find that more offensive, because I'm like, okay, well, I didn't want to be home, but you guys forced me to get these two things. And then I had to move 7 hours away from my friends and family with my husband and my children to be able to afford life so that I could stay home, because my life hasn't been the same. But you guys don't believe me. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Feminism, you've let people down. You've let women down. And women are sick and tired of having to go with all of the new sets of rules to keep up with the demand and keep up with the title, okay? You guys need to take a step back. You know, stop being so anti-women, so anti-children, so anti all of these different things, and see what actually matters. If women, listen to women's stories. If you think, wow, so many women are TERFs, why don't you listen to their stories? Why don't you listen to why they are shouting like this? If we all stood back and listened to each other more, I guarantee that we would be farther ahead. But for the last 5 years, everyone's been trained to bark like a dog at each other. And, you know, that's what sells anyways. The Whatever podcast, oh my God, it's not doing anybody any favors on either side, okay? By the way, they will say that you shouldn't choose to be a stay-at-home mom or wife because women fought so hard and how it's a blow to women's rights. But we'll cheer on work. I don't judge women if they're in a place. Do I cheer it on? No, I don't think I would cheer it on. But do I judge women? No. I understand that if they're in that sort of place, that's just who I am, that I will be very understanding. I will not judge people for it at all. Okay? Because I know that they're probably in a really tough spot. And then we'll cheer on Smex's work. And something like human trafficking exists, but they don't compare those two things. So just, if you listen to all of this, thank you for listening. This is just kind of what I've wanted to get off my chest for a while. Obviously, it's a lot, so being able to put it in a TikTok has been annoying. And by the way, I don't approve of those women who are trolling and they're like, women shouldn't have rights. Then get the fuck off Twitter and have no rights. Why do I hear you talking? If you think that you shouldn't have a voice, leave. You know what I'm saying? They're all trolls, and we just need to remember some English media, okay? But anyways, thanks for listening. I hope that left-leaning people actually listen to this and understand why you guys have failed women so much, and maybe we could all come up with some solutions together. How about that? How about we start to work together, you guys? Instead of calling each other names like we've been trained to do. Anyways, and I'm guilty for that too. And that's because the left has pissed me off and I have a right and I'm a human. Anyways, thanks for listening. Like, comment, subscribe. And I hope you guys have a great day.